India is one of the most diverse countries in the world, home to thousands of culturally unique ethnic groups. Amongst this diversity, the long-bearded and tall-turbaned Sikhs of Punjab stand out as one of the most visually distinct pieces of India's vibrant cultural palette. Despite this, the Sikhs are one of the most misunderstood people in the world, mistaken for Hindus by some and subject to anti-Islamic hate crimes by others. In this video, we will explore the true identity of the Sikhs by diving into their historical origins, starting a course from their emergence in the fertile river valley of 15th century Punjab to the lives and times of their 10 gurus who transformed the Sikhs people from a spiritual commune into a warrior society built on compassion and tempered by the sword. The Sikhs are one of over 2,000 cultural groups native to the incredibly diverse Indian subcontinent, instantly recognizable by their tall, colorful and majestic turbans known as the dasta. They adhere to a unique religion called Sikhism, which distinguishes them in a subcontinent where the vast majority of people adhere to Hinduism or Islam. The Sikhs are native to a religion called Punjab, which today is split between the Republic of India and the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. Of the many religions that have historically thrived in Punjab, Sikhism is among the newest, emerging only around 500 years ago, after Islam had already been established in the region for centuries and Hinduism for millennia. The Sikhs are a small minority in their home country, numbering around 25 million, a drop in the bucket of India's total population of over 1.4 billion. Despite this, the Sikhs diaspora is one of the most prominent Indian minority groups in the Western world. In fact, the 800,000 Sikhs in Canada make up a higher percentage of their country's population than their kin in India do. The voice of sports announcer calling the play-by-play on the hockey night in Canada Punjabi broadcast, telling you all you need to know about the Sikhs as a cultural pillar in the land of maple syrup. Before we jump into the march of history, let us first provide a brief summary of the Sikh religion. This is easier said than done because, like every other religion, the Sikh community is divided into many sects and differing beliefs, practices, and political goals. However, it is not within the scope of this video to get into this, so we will instead present a streamlined view of the Sikh faith. When summarizing this religion, the prominent Sikh author and politician Ishwat Sain once wrote that Sikhism was born out of wedlock between Hinduism and Islam after they had known each other for a period of nearly 900 years. But once it had taken birth, it began to develop a personality of its own and in due course grew into a faith which had some semblance to Hinduism, some to Islam, and yet had features which bore no resemblance to either. Sikhism is a monotheistic faith that believes in one supreme being, a formless, genderless, and cosmically omnipotent entity. The Sikh understanding of their God is malleable and compatible with both Hinduism and Muslim schools of thought. While the Muslim belief that God is invincible, it is fundamentally incompatible with the Hindu belief that God takes on many different forms. The Sikh view is that since God is universal, He is, by definition, both the one and the many. Therefore, the Sikhs reason both Hindus and Muslims are simply worshipping different manifestations of the same universal entity. Thus, at its core, Sikhism is not about achieving ideological supremacy over other faiths, but finding the universal truths that exist between them. Historically, the Sikhs were led by the 10 Gurus, a succession of spiritual masters who cultivated the Sikh community for the first 200 years of Sikhism's existence, beginning with the religion's founder, Guru Nanak. Each of the 10 Sikh Gurus built upon the legacy of their predecessors to shape the Sikh faith into a form comparable to what is today. The lineage of mortal Gurus was ended by the 10th and last Guru, Gobind Singh, who transferred the spiritual leadership of the Sikh people not to another human but to a book. The Guru Granth Sahib is a central holy religious scripture of Sikhism, containing the combined wisdom of the 10 human Gurus who preceded it. It is the main object of Sikh worship and is the central feature of every Gurdwara or Sikh temple. The Granth Sahib is considered to be the final, sovereign, and eternal Guru of the Sikh faith. To contextualize this for a Western-oriented audience, this would be like Pope Francis declaring that upon his death, another Pope should not succeed him, and that the Holy Bible itself will henceforth be the eternal head of the Catholic world. The core message of the Granth Sahib is quite simple. All human beings are equal. The things we use to divide ourselves, such as gender, age, religion, and social status, are mere illusions that serve to block people from realizing the unifying oneness of the universal God. As an extension of its egalitarian worldview, Sikhism considers community service as one of the purest forms of religious expression. One of the most common ways that Sikhs perform seva or selfless service is by volunteering in the Laja. The Laja is a community kitchen attached to every Sikh Gurdwara that regularly serve free meals to everyone, regardless of their religion or social status. During the meals, all participants sit side by side on the floor together in a symbolic display that everyone is on the same level. For those of us who grew up in the liberal Western democracies, where the rhetoric of equal right is the norm, the Sikhs' willingness to treat everyone the same and feed everyone regardless of class may not be a particularly novel concept. However, in Sikhism's birthplace of 15th century India, the idea of low-caste peasants dining side by side side with high caste Brahmins was unthinkably too many. In a time when the religion or caste was born into the world to determine the course of their entire life, the Sikh Gurus sought to upend the status quo and break down barriers that no one believed could ever be broken. Traditionally, all initiated Sikhs must style themselves in a certain way to distinguish themselves from non-Sikhs. This adornment is known as the 5 Ks: Kesh, Kanga, Kachera, Kara, and Kepan. The first K, Kesh, refers to uncut hair. In religious terms, the growing out and meticulous grooming of long hair and beard represent disciplined holiness. Incidentally, the famous Sikh turban is not actually one of the 5 Ks, but is worn by Sikhs to bind and cover their flowing locks as a matter of modesty. The second K, Kanga, is a small wooden comb and symbolically is an extension of the Kesh. The third K, Kachera, is a cotton undergarment that represents sexual restraint. The fourth K, Kara, is an iron bracelet whose circular shape serves to remind its wearer of the infinity of God. The fifth K, Kepan, is a curved dagger stuck underneath the waistband, which represents the Sikhs' call to uphold justice and protect the weak. The Kepan is indicative of the fact that Sikhs do not mistake compassion for meekness. A fierce warrior people, the Sikhs spent much of their early history facing religious oppression and learnt that pacifism was a luxury not afforded to them. A famous line from a poetic composition by Guru Gobind Singh read as follows: the Kipan and Kanda, the science metal, the axe, the rifle and the arrow, the saif, the dagger, the spear, these indeed are our saints. Having provided 101 on the core beliefs of the Sikh faith, let us now step into the flow of time and dive into the historical origins of the Sikh community. We will begin this adventure by looking at the political and religious map of Punjab at the time of Sikhs' birth. In the 15th century CE, northern India was dominated by two religions, Hinduism and Islam. The preeminent power in the Indian subcontinent was the Delhi Sultanate, an Islamic dynasty with roots among the Tuareg people of Central Asia who ruled over a majority Hindu population. During this period, two religious organizations made effort to bridge the gap between two religions: the Muslim Sufi orders and the Hindu Bhakti movement. The Sufis sought to make the Islamic faith more relatable to the Hindu population in order to secure local converts, while the Bhaktis were a group of predominantly Vishnu worshippers who ignored the stringent Hindu caste system and welcomed Muslims among their ranks. Both the Sufis and Bhaktis were groups that bridged the theological divide between Hinduism and Islam, and no doubt had a heavy influence on the founder of the Sikh faith. In fact, passages from Bhakti and Sufis literature can both be found in the Guru Granth Sahib today, making Sikhism the only world religion with a holy book that contains the work of other religions within its pages. The founder of the Sikh religion and the first Guru of the Sikh community was a man known as Nanak. According to Sikh tradition, Nanak was born in 1469 in the Punjabi town of Talwandi to a family of Hindus belonging to the merchant caste. Nanak quickly became something of a child prodigy in poetry, philosophy and language. After failing into adulthood, Nanak moved to the town of Sultanpur, where he worked as an accountant for a local governor. It was in Sultanpur that Nanak's life would change forever. One morning, while doing his daily prayers in the nearby river, Nanak suddenly disappeared. His friends, thinking he had drowned, desperately searched the river banks for his body, but to no avail. Then, 3 days later, Nanak reappeared. According to Sikh tradition, Nanak had been taken into God's presence and was imbued with a divine mission to go forth and preach the oneness of God. The first words he spoke after his revelation are the first words written in the Guru's Granth Sahib: "There is no Hindu, there is no Muslim." This phrase would become the cornerstone of Nanak's message that would drive his evangelical work for the rest of his life. After his revelation, Nanak would travel throughout Punjab, the rest of India, and even into parts of the Middle East. Along the way, he would gain a group of disciples who would come to be known as the Sikhs. From the Sanskrit word Sikhya, the meaning student, he would establish numerous Sikh communes called Sangats and would on occasion challenge the religions and political authorities of the region, preaching that everyone was spiritually equal in the eyes of God. He would challenge the Hindu caste system by claiming that there is no caste, and criticize the Islamic practice of circumcision by saying that if circumcision makes one a Muslim, what does it make a woman? One story recounts how Nanak refused to eat the food of a rich man, claiming it was stained by the wealth he had amassed through usury, and instead dined with a low caste carpenter, claiming that the poor man's food had been obtained through honest work. Another story recalls how Nanak was once criticized for sleeping with his feet pointing towards Mecca, the holiest site in Islam. In response, Nanak told the Muslims to turn their feet towards a place where God is not. Nanak's message was a radical rejection of India's social norms, preaching that all humans are equal and regardless of gender, caste, or religious background. This message won him followers from all walks of life and laid groundwork of the Sikh faith that would emerge after his death. When Guru Nanak died in 1539, a fierce dispute broke out between his Hindu and Muslim followers about how to handle his funeral rite. The Muslims insisted that he be buried, while the Hindus demanded cremation. Eventually, Nanak's body disappeared, and his followers agreed to compromise by constructing a shrine that was half burial mound and half cremation prayer. This This story is a fitting metaphor of Nanak's legacy, which was built on bringing people together. But as time went on, the divide between Sikhs and other religions of Punjab would begin to grow. Do remember to hit that like and subscribe button to stay updated with our future uploads.